Hi, this is the companion to the Getting Started guide to help you set up your evaluation board on the Variscite kit with EmSPARK. So the first decision point you have to make is which Variscite evaluation kit you're going to use, the Variscite MX8M Plus or the Dart MX8M Plus. Work with your appropriate representative and choose the correct board that meets your needs. Once you've chosen the correct Variscite board for you, then just go to this site to find the kit and download it. On this site, you'll find documentation and the kit itself. Links to these will be on the site on the left as circled here. So once you are ready to actually start doing the installation, you're going to need the Variscite evaluation board, a Linux system, an SD card, and a micro USB cable. And here is just an image of the board as it's set up and ready to go. So once you have the kit downloaded, you're going to want to extract it and get the various components out that you're going to need for running the examples, installing on the SD card to install the board. So you're seeing just extracting from the tarball the components. You can see them listed here. And then you're going to extract the core locker libraries, or core locker examples here as well, which were inside that initial tarball. And so you'll see those expanded, and once they're expanded, you can see the contents of those libraries right there. The next step is going to be to set up an SD card. The first step of the SD card is you need to create the appropriate partitions and format the file system. And so what you're going to use in this example, what we're showing is fdisk to create the partitions, and we're creating the partitions as a 4 GB partition. It is not located at the very beginning. It is leaving some space at the very beginning for some of the boot components. And so you can see that there. It's going to verify after the partitions that the actual partitions that you wanted, write those, and then the final step is to create the file system in that partition as shown here. The next step is going to be to load the SD card with the contents in order to perform the provisioning on the device. And so you can see here listing the components, changing it into the file system, and extracting that tarball into in maintaining the ownership here with the flags, and extracting that onto the SD card partition as specified, or in this case, you can see that here is the amount SD card, the partition that was created in the file system that was created there. You're going to extract this file system at this point. And this step can take a little bit here, but then you have to do the sync just to make sure everything is written before you do anything else. And this can take a couple minutes depending on your SD card and such. So it's syncing up a fairly large transfer there. Once that's complete, you'll be able to go to the flash directory, which will flash the provisioning components into the unpartitioned region on the SD card there. And as you can see here, you're going to run the change to the flash directory and then run the script to flash those components in, and it's putting those onto the SD card, as you can see here, with raw reads and writes. And that will complete loading the SD card. So the final steps are going to be make sure that the dip switch here is set to boot from the SD card before you put the SD card in. And then you're going to put the SD card in and boot the board. And when you boot the board, what you're going to see is it's going to blow the fuses to set it up. and that's going to happen very quickly at the beginning. If the fuses are already set, it's going to skip that step. It'll still say blowing the fuses, but you'll see that step still be started. And then it will start to take the provisioning payloads, gold blobs, and turning those into the diversified blobs. And the initial parts will be the manifest, and then it'll be the components of the boot, the Linux, the DTB, the U-boot, those components. So you'll see that happen. It'll scroll by fairly quickly, so you can sort of scroll backwards if you want to look at that. And that's what we're going to see here at the beginning. So it's going to booting up. You can see it starting to extract and re-encrypted components. So deblobbing, reblobbing. So it's taking the generic provisioning payload and turning it into an encrypted diversified payload for this specific part. And it's going through and doing that for all of the various components, the manifest files, and then the various components. And then now what we're seeing is it's creating the device unique IDs, certificates, things that are specific to that device, and getting those set up. Then you will be forced to reset the device, which is already scrolled past it here. And once the provisioning is complete, when you reset, it's going to initiate the secure boot, where you will see in that process it taking those diversified payloads, loading them into memory, verifying them, decrypting them, and you'll see that there. But then then it'll boot through its normal Linux process, and you will be able to log into root on the system. So that should complete the installation, and you should be able to walk through the rest of the guide, doing all the examples for CoreLocker and the EmSPARK suite from the getting started and from the other documentation in the kit. So that should complete the process. Thank you very much.